What's up, everyone? Tara Roberts here with Fantasy Pros, bringing you my top 10 waiver wire ads for week 12. But before we get started, if you want a chance to win a signed T. Higgins Cincinnati Bengals jersey courtesy of our friends at Pristine Auction, you need to subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now. Comment below on this video and that's it. Make sure to turn on notifications to know when new videos drop and to find out if you've won. Now let's go ahead and dive right in. Number 10, Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson is a touchdown magnet, and in the current landscape of injured and disappointing tight ends, Johnson is the clear best option for a waiver wire ad at tight end. Johnson has 5 touchdowns in his past 5 games, and while his upcoming matchup against San Francisco isn't ideal, neither was Sunday's matchup against the Rams, and he still managed to catch 3 of 4 targets for 47 yards and a touchdown. You hate to play touchdown-dependent tight ends because at some point, the bubble has to burst. But 5 weeks is incredible consistency, and you can plug him in as a low-end tight end 1. Number 9, Demarcus Robinson. This waiver wire ad might seem like it's chasing points, but I promise it's not, and let's break down why Demarcus Robinson can continue to operate as the Ravens' wide receiver 1. Mark Andrews will remain the leading pass catcher for Baltimore, but the Ravens' receiving core is what it is, and it consists of Devin Duvernay, Demarcus Robinson, and James Prochet. Duvernay had some early season success with touchdowns, but just isn't a high-volume receiver, and that's unlikely to change. His floor is extremely low. Prochet simply is not and will never be an option, but Robinson is capable of handling volume. And he showcased that, catching all 9 of his targets on Sunday for 128 yards. And aside from one difficult matchup against Denver, the Ravens' upcoming schedule is very receiver-friendly. Even if you have no intention of starting Robinson, he's a good stash that could come in handy for a playoff run. Number 8, Latavius Murray. The Denver backfield has been ugly and unappealing ever since Javonte Williams went out for the season. The split backfield between Melvin Gordon and Latavius Murray got even worse when Denver added Chase Edmonds. But Latavius Murray just might be the last man standing after Edmonds suffered an injury and Gordon made a costly fumble. After the fumble, Gordon took a back seat to Murray, and there's a good chance that this is an extended demotion. This isn't the first time Gordon has been punished for fumbling, and you have to wonder if this is the final straw. Murray had 17 carries for 49 yards and 1 touchdown, plus 4 receptions for 23 yards. And while this was horribly inefficient, he doubled Gordon's carries, and volume is king. Number 7, Nico Collins. I am still recommending Nico Collins as a solid waiver wire ad despite an underwhelming day. Collins caught 5 of 7 targets for 48 yards, but the Washington defense has come to life recently, limiting yardage through the air and causing general chaos for offenses. So, I am giving the low volume a bit of a pass in this game. But the road ahead is very friendly, and Collins was the leader in targets for the 2nd week in a row. Next week, the Texans face Miami, and will be more than likely chasing points against an elite Miami offense and a subpar Miami defense. And aside from one difficult matchup against Dallas, Collins could be in plus matchups for the remainder of the season and will continue to push himself forward as the wide receiver 1 for the Texans. Number 6, Samaje Perine. Joe Mixon suffered a concussion on Sunday, and normally an RB1 like Mixon goes down and everyone is scrambling to get the next man up off waivers. But this is a special situation where the injury hit on a week with 0 buys. So, unless you're in a deep league or struggling at running back, you likely don't need to rush out and get Samaje Perine unless you roster Joe Mixon. Next week is a tough matchup against a Tennessee Titans defense that is typically very strong against the run. But Perine is a well-rounded back who has pass-catching upside, so he can see fantasy success through multiple avenues. Perine scored 30 fantasy points in PPR on Sunday, primarily boosted by 3 touchdowns through the air. So he's a solid option if you need a streamer for this week. Number 5, Darius Slayton. Week 11 was the Wan'Dale Robinson breakout game, and I was very excited and ready to tell everyone to go put in their waiver claims for Robinson, but Robinson suffered an injury towards the end of the game and was ruled out fairly quickly with a knee injury. I filmed this video on Sunday night, and as of right now, the injury is just rumored to be serious. We don't know any details, but if Robinson misses time, Slayton is the player to add. Slayton has floated around my waiver wire list in previous weeks because he has an extremely reliable floor. Despite Robinson's breakout performance, Slayton caught 5 of 10 targets for 86 yards. Slayton has double-digit fantasy points in PPR in the past 4 games and has 2 touchdowns. While he doesn't have a 20-plus fantasy point upside, he is a steady plug-in for a low-end flex option and worthy of a roster. Number 4, Odell Beckham Jr. Last call on Odell Beckham Jr. because after this week, he'll likely be rostered in over 50% of leagues. Beckham has narrowed down his choices to Dallas and the New York Giants. There are pros and cons to both here. If he goes to the Giants, he has an excellent shot to challenge as the wide receiver 1. The downside here is that the Giants typically don't push high pass volume. Maybe that changes with Odell in town, but the ceiling might be a little bit inconsistent. On the other hand, if he goes to Dallas, he's in a very similar situation to LA, where he is the wide receiver 2 to CeeDee Lamb. But Dallas does have a more potent offense, so there is upside there. And outside of Lamb, no other Dallas receiver has come even close to stepping up as the clear number 2 target. My ideal landing spot is Dallas, but either way, Odell Beckham Jr. has upside for a playoff push, and he is worth a stash. Number 3, Treylon Burks. This waiver wire ad is very exciting for me because I truly felt Treylon Burks was heading in the right direction prior to his injury. The Titans had been very cautious with him early in the season, limiting his snaps to help him adjust to the NFL. And in his second game back from injury, we finally got to see that Treylon Burks breakout game. 7 receptions on 8 targets for 111 yards, looking like the player we'd hoped he'd be heading into the season. Temper your expectations because they are still limiting his snap count. Burks played just 50% of snaps. But those snaps were very productive. We have to take into account these late season rookie breakouts. The road ahead is tough over the next couple of games with Cincinnati and Philadelphia on deck, but the schedule gets much lighter after that, and Burks still has late season upside. Number 2, Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell didn't repeat his Week 10 performance, but 5 receptions on 6 targets for 67 yards in Week 11 will do. This was Campbell's worst performance with Matt Ryan since Week 5. But this was a very difficult matchup against a tough Philadelphia secondary, and if this is the Paris Campbell floor, that's a good sign. Campbell and all of the Colts receivers really saw a dramatic dip in production with Sam Ehlinger at quarterback, but with Matt Ryan back at the helm, the offense has returned to more stability. Campbell has a ceiling upwards of 20 fantasy points and around a 10-point floor in PPR. The Colts face the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 11, and while the Steelers' defense is definitely getting healthier overall, they've been very vulnerable against the pass, giving up the second most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers heading into Week 11. Campbell is a solid flex option this week. Number 1, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Amari Cooper had an insane bounce-back game, but do not overlook Donovan Peoples-Jones, who is still under 50% rostered in Yahoo leagues. Peoples-Jones caught 5 of 6 targets for 61 yards and a touchdown. He's had double-digit fantasy points in 5 straight games and finally got his first touchdown of the year. His upside has been limited because the Browns aren't typically a high pass volume team, but the Browns are just a couple of games away from the return of Deshaun Watson, and higher pass volume is likely just around the corner. Donovan Peoples-Jones has an incredibly stable floor and could have high upside in the fantasy playoffs. Thanks for watching this video, and remember, if you want a chance to win a signed T. Higgins Cincinnati Bengals jersey courtesy of our friends at Pristine Auction, you need to subscribe to the FantasyPros YouTube channel right now. Comment below on this video, and that's it. Make sure to turn on notifications to know when new videos drop and to find out if you've won.
Thanks for tuning in to the FantasyPros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at FantasyPros, so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your fantasy league.